Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Can It Take a K26, the show where we take a variety of blasters and see if they can be upgraded using a K26 spring. I am your host, Captain Xavier, and today we're going to be looking at a series of what I am going to refer to as Ratchet primed blasters. That term is derived, of course, from our first contestant, the Nerf Cyber Strike Ratchet Blast. The Ratchet Blast was originally released in 1997 as part of the Cyber Strike line. It came with 8 Mega Darts, the old Mega Darts. It was barreled for old Mega. It then had 4 dart holders on the top, and this nifty handguard-looking section, which is really very, very cool. Unfortunately, I don't know how well we're going to be able to test this today, because this one is unfortunately busted. I went to prime it one day, and it just snapped right off. But at the very least, we can see if it is capable of taking a K26. Given that it broke just from priming, I suspect it might not be able to actually take the force. But that's really not what we're going to dabble into today. We're just going to see if it would be capable of fitting. Because if not, there's really no point in going any further. And it does make it a little easier to take apart. But let's see if the remains of this thing can take a K26. First thing we notice is that it is not a smart AR system like the modern Nerf blasters. It actually is more akin to the modern Busby blasters, in that it has the whole plunger tube rotates inside rather than the barrels rotating. So it does matter which barrel is loaded. It will fire them all in sequence. So you can't just put a dart in any barrel and it will fire the next time you fire it. It has to be the next one in sequence. And as this thing is broken, I could now very easily make a 4-shot old school mega absolver for ire, which just tickles the old school in me. I don't have 4 old school mega darts, but someday I probably could get my hands on that many. I might just do that. I did have a friend who wanted the remains of this, but I may just keep the barrels for that reason. We will see. But let's take a look at the plunger and see if it can, in fact, take a... Wow. Oh, right. Okay, it's not as thick as it looked. Well, okay then. All right. Well, that answers the question that we came here to answer. At least well enough for me. Yes, the plunger tube is large enough and the plunger rod is accommodating enough that it is physically possible to put a K26 into the Ratchet Blast. Whether you would be able to prime it or whether it would just shatter, I can't say, but I rather suspect it would probably break. Unless you found some way to reinforce it, which I don't think would be worth it. But the option does exist. So for now, I am going to tentatively say that yes, the Ratchet Blast can take a K26. Okay, well, I'm really tempted to make an absolver out of that barrel just for the sheer absurdity, because I don't have a multi-shot old Mega absolver yet. And that would be kind of a neat attachment to have. Let me know. I'm sure it would probably be proper for me to give it to the friend that I promised it to, but let me know what you think. I'll have to ask him what he thinks. I don't know if he was actually planning to use that barrel, or if it's being this broken is in fact any use to him. I'll get a hold of him and find out. Alright, on to our next contestant. Our next contestant is this Boomco thing. They don't feel the need to put the name of their blasters on the blaster, and I don't feel the need to look it up. So, it's a fairly simple blaster. You pull the lower trigger to release, and you can then ratchet to prime. Unlike the vast majority of Boomco blasters, it does not have a safety in it to prevent you from dry firing. I don't know why. But what we want to know, of course, is can this thing take a K26? Well, let's find out. Oh, interesting. It doesn't have a safety, but it does have an air restrictor safety. Kind of. Yeah, very different than Nerf's air restrictors. It's this weird lever thing that is definitely inefficient because you're losing air in between it because it's not well sealed. But what do you do when your patent that you need is held by somebody else? Unfortunately, it does not have an easy to remove spring. The plunger head does not come off, and this back cap doesn't want to come off easily. Not particularly surprising that K26 will fit. Now we just need to figure out how much spring we need, and I want as little as possible. And I've managed to get the end cap off because I did not want to try to put K26 coilet on because that was just going to make a mess. Now we put it all back together and see if I can make it do a thing. Interesting. Well, it can fit and the gears seem to be able to take it. However, it's not getting all the way ratcheted before it's releasing. I suspect there's too much torque on something in there and a gear is slipping or something is slipping. And so it can't quite get back all the way to catch, and so technically no. Now the question is, getting back far enough to fire? Yeah. Interesting. So, a yes but a no. It won't actually catch, which means it's obviously you could never actually aim it while doing it like that. And it's just not going to be an efficient way to go about anything. But it'll fit if you can figure out how to get the catch mechanism to catch. So, on to the next contestant. I think I'll just put it back together. I never intended to use it anyway. On to the next contestant. Now we get to the real meat of this episode with this Boomco thing. I'm sure it has a fancy name and people who like Boomco love it. But I don't know what it is, because it's not written on there. But it's also a ratcheting one. This one ratchets that way, which is fascinating, and then uses the Boomco harmonica slide clip looking things, which is neat. It looks like it's also supposed to have a manual side prime as well. You can see it in there working. Very short draw on that part. But what we want to know is if it can take a K26. So let's get this thing open and find out. Alright, well, it looks very similar in general mechanism to the smaller one. It is not a priming bar. I'm sure it is some interesting feature of this blaster that I don't know because I don't have that part. This was sent to me by a fan, so I never owned this blaster in its entirety. Same issue with the spring not being easy to get out. It's all riveted together, pinned together. I shall not be daunted by such design features as these. We're just gonna have to do it the hard way. Alright, I managed to get K26 in there. It was a beast, but let's see what happens. Right, well, I do like it when I'm surprised on this show. This one can take a K26. The only thing I had to do is I had to slightly compress the, slightly draw the plunger system back just a little bit to rotate all of the gears a little bit, so that it was getting enough compression on the draw. The extra force on the springs was, of course, stretching everything, or on the gears was stretching everything just a little bit, and so it wasn't quite getting enough pullback to actually catch. But I was able to fix that, and now it will, in fact, take a K26. You gotta mean it, but it works. I don't think you could one-hand ratchet it anymore. You pretty much are gonna have to do it with your hand. But it does, in fact, work, and it hits like a tank, which is neat if I were into Boomco more. But I'm sure the guy who sent me this will be happy to get it back with a K26. So, that is nifty. On to the final contestant. Our final contestant is this Boomco thing. This is one that Walcom is a huge fan of. He has used it at numerous wars to pretty much wreck us all from great distance. Fort Warden War, this is pretty much exclusively what he used, and to very great effect. He might have even been dual wielding, I don't remember. But, it's similar concept as the last two. It primes here. This one actually does have safeties where it won't fire if it's not loaded. But we want to see if this thing can take a K26, so let's get it open. Alright, this one does not have a gear mechanism. It is purely leverage, which is definitely nice. The usual hard to remove spring, but we've dealt with that before. Remarkably powerful spring for its size, too. I'm liking that. I could definitely use this to upgrade any number of other blasters. Alright, I got the K26 in. See if we can get this thing back together. I think it's gonna be an easier get together than the last one. I'm sure hoping it will be. Alright, well, once again, this one could take a K26. Takes it just fine. The whole lever action mechanism rather than a gear mechanism makes it take it without even blinking. I mean, it doesn't even feel like it's that much heavier. It definitely is, because this spring is definitely not as heavy as K26. But because you have all that mechanical advantage, it's super easy to prime. And hits like a tank again. I think the other one was actually hitting a little bit harder, if I'm honest. But this one is a little bit easier to ratchet. The other one, you really have to mean it, because it's that gear mechanism is trying to get that last little bit, where this one's just forcing it back with good old-fashioned leverage. So that's another yes. Let's recap. Alright, if you're just tuning in, or if you just skip to the end to see the results, that was a physical yes for the Ratchet Blast, but an unable to test because it's busted. But I rather suspect it probably would not be able to actually support it, given that it broke just from regular use. That was also a physical yes for this Boomco thing, but unfortunately the catch mechanism is not powerful enough, and when you try to ratchet it, it slips long before it actually gets to the catch. So physically yes, but functionally no. That was a yes for this Boomco thing. It works very nicely. I really kind of like this one. You have to mean it. You have to actually force it down. You really can't just flip it like you used to be able to, because it won't catch anymore. But if you force it down, it will catch, and it hits like a beast. And finally, that was a yes for this Boomco thing. Its priming mechanism is much more robust than the other ones. It doesn't actually use gears. It just uses leverage, and as such, it has no problem taking a K26 and is really quite beautiful. So, there you have it on the weird ratcheting handle priming blasters, at least all the ones that I have so far. These two definite yeses. Go for it if you're into that, if you really like Boomco, though they're getting hard to get a hold of. But I will be getting these sent back to the fellow who sent them to me once I finish the rest of the blasters he sent me, which means I have to remember which ones those are. Hopefully he'll get a hold of me and remind me again. So there you have it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, requests for future episodes, go ahead and put them in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching.